Good?
Beautiful.
Okay, so first thing I want to do, take a general conditions check of my vehicle. As I'm walking up, I want to make sure that my vehicle is not leaning to the left or right. Want to make sure that if it was leaning to right, left or right, I understand that there could be a suspension problem or a weight problem with my load. So I'm checking to make sure it's not leaning left or right, the trailer or the truck. As I'm doing a general condition, I'm starting from the top. I always have a system I like to use, top to bottom. So I'm checking the clearance lights, header board, mirrors seem to be good condition, windshield, identifiers, mark clearance on the sides. Okay, hood seems to be in good condition. No obstructions to the radiator, no foreign objects, properly latched. Bumper seems to be tight and secure, plate seems to be tight and secure. I'm gonna get down low, make sure that there's no leaks, no grease, no oil. Okay, that was my general conditions check. So it looks to be pretty good. So with your permission and your help, I'd like to ask you if you could please help me check my lights. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and get in my truck and I'm gonna go ahead and tell you which ones I'm trying to check. If you don't mind, if you could just yell back to me, let me know that they're in working condition. Can you check this left turn signal up here on the
That's good. Oh.
The side one?
yeah. Can you check the other side for me? I can't see it.
That's one you can see. Go the back. Right turn signal. Left.
How about my brake lights?
Checking the rear lights.
So after I come out, I thank him. I always treat him with a bunch of respect, make sure that I ask for help. Thank him after he's helped me check all my lights. Okay, next thing I'm gonna do, now we'll start with my inspection of my vehicle. I'm gonna go ahead and pop this open with your permission. I grab it from the dead center and work it down. Nice and professional. So I always like to develop a system that works, and I like to start from the top to the bottom. I like to start here on this side of the engine, and I like to work my way around the whole truck, and I would inspect the whole vehicle. First of all, I'd like to mention I'm going to check for all the hoses for any leaks. So I'm just kind of giving a real quick look of all my hoses. Just a general conditions check. Everything seems to be good condition. Want to check any electrical wire. It can be frayed, torn, ripped. Okay, everything from this side seems to be in good condition. So as I start from the top, I want to make sure that I mention that I've got my water pump here in the center. If I chase this big thick hose, it runs all the way down my radiator, and if I chase it all the way down in there, that's where my water pump is at. So I want to make sure my water pump is tight and secure. It's right there in the middle. It should be in good condition, not broken, also not leaking. For every hose on this truck, I will perform an ABC. That stands for abrasions, bubbles, or cuts. So I'm going to be abbreviating that, calling it my ABC. Okay. As I check that hose, I'm checking all the hoses coming to and from my radiator. I want to make sure that they're not leaking also. I want to make sure that I would perform an ABC on each individual hose, make sure they are tight and secure, and I would want to make sure they're properly fastened on the top and bottom of the hose. So top and bottom, so they're not leaking, good condition. Check my radiator. Radiator seems to be in good condition, not leaking, no obstructions, tight and secure. As I work my way down, I'd like to mention that my water pump is in the center again, but it's also on the serpentine belt system. The serpentine belt system, want to make sure that I understand it is self-adjusting, and the belt must be in good condition, not broken, not torn, not frayed. It must be in good condition, not excessively tight, not excessively loose. It is self-adjusting on these trucks. Okay, I got my alternator, which if you look down in here, it's this guy here. My alternator seems to be in good condition, not cracked, not broken, not dented. All the electrical wires going to and from it, properly insulated, not torn, not frayed, and is properly mounted. I understand it is actually part of the serpentine belt system, so I'm checking to make sure that the belt is in good condition, not cracked, not frayed, not broken. All the teeth on the inside seem to be in good condition. That is on the pulley system right there, on the serpentine belt system. Okay, as I work my way out, I'd like to mention that I have my frame there. Must be in good condition, not broken, not cracked, not dented, no illegal welds on it. It runs from the front of the truck all the way back. I'm just gonna take a quick second to check it out, make sure it's in good condition, not broken. Okay. Not dented, no illegal welds. I've got a mount here on the front and a mount back here in the back. That is for my spring leaves. My spring leaves are in good condition, not broken, not cracked, not dented. Also, there's no missing hardware on the front and back. I should have no more than about 25% damage on these. There's only 2, so I cannot have any damage on these. Should be no more than about a quarter damage on leaf springs normally, but they only have 2, so I cannot have any damaged. Since there's only 2, there should not be any leaf springs damaged on this particular truck. Okay, my leaf spring mounts, I want to make sure they're tight and secure. The mounts themselves seem to be in good condition, not welded to the frame. Not missing any hardware, it is tight and secure. Going back to my leaf springs, the U-bolts are there, present, not cracked, not dented, properly fastened on the bottom, tight and secure. I've got my shock absorber here. It is not cracked, not dented, good condition, proper hardware, top and bottom, also not leaking. Okay, I've got my brake chamber here and my brake air line here. The air brake line seems to be in good condition, not leaking any air, and I'll perform an ABC on check on this. Abrasions, bubbles, or cuts on this hose, also not leaking. Got my brake chamber here, brake chamber itself in good condition, not cracked, not dented, not broken. I want to make sure that I check this C-clamp on the bottom back here where my hand is at. I've got a bolt on the C-clamp holding it tight and secure. Closed, in the closed position. Okay, I've got my push rod right here, my slack adjuster here. Right now my brakes are on, so I should have a nice 90-degree angle between my slack adjuster and my push rod. Okay, as I check my push rod, I want to make sure that I have these pins, cotter pins, holding it in place. As you can tell, I've got one here, one here. Okay, if I were to go and chalk my wheels, I can actually check the slack adjuster, and I would want to have no more than about 1 inch of free play right here at the slack adjuster. Okay, as I come back, I check all these little Zerk fittings, make sure that they are properly greased, not excessively greased. That'd be very dangerous. These are my Zerk fittings, these little rubber metal nipples right here. You would add grease through there, so I want to make sure that there's not excessive amount of grease, because that'd be very dangerous, because it can get within my brake drums and my brake linings. Okay, as I look deeper in here, I also want to check all my steering knuckles, steering linkage in here, make sure it's properly greased, not broken, castle nut, cotter pins running through it. Okay, seems to be in good condition. Take a quick look. Good. So as I work my way from my steering linkage, there's not missing any hardware on the steering linkage. I'm going to get down into my brake drum. This is my brake drum here. My brake drum, nice circular motion. It's in a nice circular shape, not cracked, not dented, not blued due to overheating. So it seems to be in good condition. No grease, no oil on my brake drum. My brake liner is the one in here. It's the consumable part. Should be no less than about a 1/4 inch of consumable material left on it. No less than about a 1/4 inch. Should not be excessively thin. Okay, as I check my brake liner, I want to make sure that it is no grease, no oil. Also want to make sure that I have proper amount of rivets holding my brake liner in place. Okay, so that seems to be in good condition as I look in here. Okay, as I work my way out, I check the rim from the inside. The rim must be nice circular condition. No cracks, no grease, no oil, no illegal welds on that rim. Okay, as I work my way to my tire, I'd like to talk about my ICD. I want to make sure I check the inflation, condition, and depth. I will be abbreviating, if you don't mind, for the rest of the truck. It's inflation, condition, and depth. I will check the sidewall, top sidewall, make sure that the condition is in good working order. I want to make sure there's no chunks, no tears on the sidewalls. I want to make sure that the tire's nice and flat, not rounded. If it was rounded, it'd be an indication that my suspension has gone bad. Also want to make sure when I check the condition on the top here, there's no nails, no bolts, no foreign matter. I want to make sure that this tire matches that tire in size and style. I want to make sure it's radial or bias. These are radial tires, so I want to make sure that the other side is the same size and style. Okay, I want to make sure that I check my tread depth. These are steer tires. They must be new tires. They cannot be recapped, not retreaded, and they can get no less than 4/32. Okay, as I check the sidewall, once again, should not be any bulges, no cracks, no holes, no chunks missing. I check the bead between the rim and the tire, make sure it's got a nice connection. We'll check it on both sides just as well. Okay, so I want to talk to you a little bit about my inflation. My inflation needs to be anywhere from 100 to 110, or according to manufacturer's recommendation. Okay, as I check my inflation, though, I always like to take a quick second. Just check this valve. I want to make sure that it is in good, proper working order, not broken, not cracked. It's not going to catch on anything, and it's got a nice dust cover on top of it. No audible sounds of leak. So I'm going to get down here into my rim. My rim seems to be in good condition. It seems to be nice and circular. No cracks, no dents, no illegal welds at all on it. Okay, I got a full set of hardware on my lug nuts. Lug nuts seem to be in good condition, and there's no signs of looseness, which would be silver shiny thread or raw water runoff from the back, like moisture getting caught between the rim itself and the lug nut. So it seems to be in good condition. I got my my hub seal here. My hub seal, I've got a full set of hardware, as you can tell. Seems to be tight and secure, not leaking. I can also check it here and add oil here. Okay. Now, if you don't mind, I'd like to walk around and talk to you a little bit more about my truck. As I'm looking at my, I know that they work because you helped me, but I also want to make sure that it's properly fastened, tight and secure. I want to make sure that I check my markers here on the side, or amber in color. Okay, seem to be properly mounted. Check from the inside, make sure there's no missing hardware. Okay, seem to be all in working order. So as I work my way around, I want to make sure it's nice and clean. If it wasn't, I would take a rag and just kind of wipe it off. So as I check this mirror, or I'm sorry, as I check this headlight, I would check it just as I did the other side. Now when I start on this, I want to make sure that I check all my hoses for any signs of leaks, all my electrical wires for any signs of loose, bare wires. So I'm just going to take a quick second, if you don't mind. Seems to be in good condition. Okay, so I always like to start from the top to the bottom. If you don't mind, I would like to tell you that I would check the frame, the shock absorber, the brake chamber, the air line, the spring leaves, the mounts to the spring leaves, the tire, the rim. I would check it just as I did the other side. If you don't mind, I'd just like to mention you the major differences. So here on my hoses, I'm checking to make sure that there are ABC on all these hoses. I'm checking for abrasions, bubbles, and cuts. Make sure they're properly fastened on both ends. No leaks. Here's my coolant reservoir. My coolant reservoir, right now it's hot, so it is within manufacturer's recommendation. It is tight and secure with the bolts here, and I also have a cap, not leaking. As I'm checking my reservoir, I'm checking any hose coming to and from the reservoir. I'm performing an ABC check. No abrasions, bubbles, or cuts. Also not leaking on any of those hoses going to and from my coolant reservoir. Okay, seems to be in good condition. As I get down in here, I like to make sure I check my engine oil through here and add oil through here. I would pull this out, wipe it off with a clean rag, put it in, and check it to make sure it's within manufacturer recommendation. As I get down in here, that is my compressor. My compressor needs to be, this one is gear driven. It needs to be properly mounted, tight and secure, not missing any hardware. That is my governor there, sitting right next to it. Governor seems to be in good condition, not broken, not no audible sounds of leak. Also properly mounted, seems to be in good condition. The compressor again itself is actually gear driven. Okay, as I check in here, I'm going to make sure there's no leaks again. Okay, as I get back out, you said it'd be okay if I check this frame just as I did the other side. So I'd like to just mention you all the differences. Okay, so here's my steering shaft. My steering shaft must be in good condition, not broken, not cracked, not dented. I want to check the U-joints, make sure they're not twisted, properly greased. I've got my power steering pump here. Power steering pump here has all its hardware, tight and secure. I'm going to check all the hoses. I would perform an ABC, abrasions, bubbles, or cuts. Also want to make sure that they're not leaking. Okay, they seem to be in good condition. Power steering pump itself, I want to make sure that there's no cracks, no dents, not leaking. Though it's very important that I check that. That helps me steer. Got my power steering reservoir here, properly mounted by those bolts, holding it nice and tight, secure in its place. Right now the truck is hot. Power steering seems to be within manufacturer's recommendation. That's where I would check it. I want to make sure that I check that the cap, I would know that I could feel through there, and I want to make sure it's present, tight and secure. Okay, I got my windshield wiper fluid here. It is tight and secure by these bolts. Just got some electrical wires. They seem to be in good condition, not frayed, not torn. Okay, properly mounted. They're not hanging off to the side. I've got a cap on it. Now it is a little low, so I'd want to make sure that I add some when I get a chance though. Okay, we said we weren't going to talk about my frame or my shock absorbers, so I'd like to mention to you the differences on this side. I've got my pitman arm, my drag link, my steering knuckle, and some steering linkage back here. I want to make sure I check my castle nut, cotter pins, make sure they're all present. I want to make sure as I check individual parts that they're not cracked, not dented, not broken. They seem to be in good condition. Okay, we said we weren't going to talk too much about the leaf springs because I would check them just as I did the other side. I've got my steering linkage down here. I want to make sure it's all properly present. I would check it just like I did the other side. My tie rod, make sure it's present, good condition. I would check an ICD on this tire just as I did on the other side. I would check my rim, my brake chamber, just as I did on the other side. Now, I'd like to get here. I'd like to talk to you about my mirror. My mirror seems to be properly mounted, tight and secure. Okay? It's not going anywhere, not broken, not cracked. Seems to be in good condition. As I open my door, I'm going to make sure it sits nice and flush. I want to make sure that my hinges are present, not missing any hardware, tight and secure. I've got a much better angle when I open the door and I check from the inside. They seem to be not missing any hardware, not cracked, not broken, properly adjusted, sitting nice and flush. Okay, I've got my fuel tank here. My fuel tank seems to be in good condition, not cracked, not dented, not leaking, properly capped. No leaks. Very important I check to make sure that I'm not dropping any fuel along the road. Okay, I've got my steps here. I'll make sure they're properly tight and secure by this strap right here and a rubber strap going onto my fuel tank. I want to make sure there's no grease, no oil. As I get back here, I want to make sure that I check my catwalk. I got a step here, a couple steps here, my catwalk up there. I want to make sure there's no grease, no oil leading all the way up there. Okay. As I'm here, I like to start from the top to the bottom, then start from the top to the bottom of the trailer. So as I'm checking my tractor, I like to start from the top. I'll make sure that my air lines are properly secured out of the way. Make sure there's no audible sounds of leak. The airlines themselves, good condition. I would perform an ABC, abrasions, bubbles, or cuts, also not leaking. I also want to make sure I do it to the electrical line. I would perform an ABC, abrasions, bubbles, or cuts on this guy. There should not be any tears, any frays, no bare wires on this electrical line. I also want to make sure that I've got a proper cap, hold it in place. If you notice right here, I've got a safety latch. It's got to be present on both ends. Okay, I want to make sure there's no audible sounds of leak. They're not twisted, not broken, not torn, not frayed. Okay. So as I get down here, I've got my more frame right here. I check the frame. It's got to be in good condition. No cracks, no dents, no illegal welds. As I get in the inside here, I can see my drive line. I've got a couple U-joints. My drive line seems to be in good condition. No cracks, no dents. It's right here in the center. This is my drive line, and I'm checking my U-joint up there and my U-joint back up here. They're not twisted, not broken. I've got my exhaust system back here, properly mounted, tight and secure, also not leaking. I don't see no black soot coming out from any of the joints or any holes indicating that I've got any leaks, so it seems to be in good condition. Okay. As I look around, I'd like to now move on. Like I said, I've already mentioned my catwalk and my frame, so I'd like to mention my header board here. Seems to be in good condition. No bulges, nothing coming through. Properly riveted. I've got my clearance lights up on top. They seem to be properly mounted, tight and secure. I've got a couple reflectors here on the sides. They seem to be properly mounted. The header board itself, like I said, no cracks, nothing pushing through, not missing any rivets, seem to be in good condition. Like I said earlier, I checked the safety latch, make sure it's present, make sure all the electrical is nice, tight, secure, proper amount of hardware, holding it in place. I've got my service glad hand here, got my emergency glad hand here. I want to make sure they're both in good condition. I want to make sure that I open them up, check to make sure that the rubber gaskets on the inside, they're in good condition, not broken, not frayed, not cracked, no audible sounds of leak. Okay, I'm gonna just take a quick second, if you don't mind. I'd like to look at the whole sidewall of my trailer, make sure there's no bulges, no cracks, not broken. Everything seems to be in good condition. I'm checking my marker light on the back, seems to be mounted properly. All my reflective tape seems to be good. That marker light's clean. I'm just gonna take a quick second, if you don't mind. Bend down, check all my cross members. Make sure all my cross members seem to be in good condition, not broken. The floor itself, no holes, not broken. All the cross members are present, so it seems to be in good condition. Okay, as I get here, I'd like to talk about this axle. And I know that this axle is not the same as that, so I'm gonna go ahead and do another ICD and brake chamber check up on these. Okay, this is my splash guard. My splash guard seems to be in good condition, properly mounted, not touching the tires, not touching the floor. As I check my frame, the rest of the truck seems to be in good condition. I've got my spring mounts left and right. I want to make sure there's no issues with the mounts themselves, not cracked, not broken, not missing any hardware, tight and secure. I want to check my leaf springs. I want to make sure that I understand there's about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, about 5 leaf springs right here, so I can have no more than about a quarter of them broken, no more than 25% damaged before it would red tag the truck. I got a torque spring right here by itself, also known as a leaf spring. I want to make sure that's in good condition. Also, I want to make sure that it is not broken. Okay, so I've got a better angle of my leaf springs. I've got a set of shackles here that holds it together. Seems to be present, keeping them all nice and stacked up on top of each other. That's this guy here. Okay, so as I work my way down here, I want to make sure that I check my release arm. My release arm is present in the locked position. My fifth wheel seems to be in good condition, not broken, properly greased. I would want to make sure that I check it while it's disconnected, my fifth wheel. I've got my safety latch, safety pin right there, right there next to it. Seems to be in good condition, present. Got a cotter pin running through it. I've got my apron right here at the bottom, the 2 ramps right there, they seem to be in good condition, not broken, not cracked, no illegal welds on those. I'm looking at my locking jaw around my kingpin. My locking jaw seems to be in the closed position. It's locked around my kingpin. My kingpin must be in good condition, not broken, not cracked, not illegally welded. Okay, I'm gonna check the rest of my platform, make sure I'm not missing any head hardware. The platform sits right below the 5th wheel. This is a stationary. I'm just gonna take a quick second, make sure I'm not missing any hardware. It seems all to be tight and secure. So as I'm sitting down here, I'm checking out all my leaf springs. Okay, I wanna make sure my U-bolts are present. U-bolts seem to be tight and secure. Not missing any hardware on the bottom. Have a full set. They are all tight and secure. Okay, as I work my way out, I wanna check my brake chambers. Make sure they're not cracked, not dented, no audible sounds of leak. I want to check all the hoses coming to and from my brake chamber. I want to make sure that I would perform an ABC check. Abrasions, bubbles, or cuts also not leaking on any of the hoses. Okay, as I check, I want to make sure my slack adjuster and push rod are both present. Right now, the brakes are actually applied. So I've got a nice 90-degree angle down here at the bottom. Okay, if I were to chuck my wheels, I would pull on my slack adjuster and I should have no more than about 2 inches of free play. No more than 2 inches of free play down here. Okay, I'm checking my brake chambers, make sure that I've got my C-clamps and proper hardware holding them nice, tight, and secure. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and now start working my way out. Now, I'd like to mention that these brake drums must be in good condition, nice circular motion. Both of them must be free of debris, no grease, no oil, no cracks, no dents, no bluing, which indicates overheating. The brake liners must not be excessively low, no more than about 1/4 inch of consumable material on them. I want to make sure that I check the rivets, make sure there's no rivets missing, no grease, no oil in there. It's very dangerous. I want to make sure I check them on both sides just as well. As I work my way out of the rims, I want to make sure I check each individual rim, not cracked, not dented, not illegally welded. I want to make sure I check this rim and that rim, both on the inside. I want to make sure that good condition. I also want to make sure that in between the tires, there's no spacers on these, so they must be rim to rim. And also I want to make sure that there's no rocks. I want to make sure that there's no foreign matter in between the 2 tires. Okay, so as I check the 2 tires, I would perform an ICD check on these tires just as I did in the front. So I'm going to go ahead and jump out now if you don't mind. But before I jump out, I'd like to mention my left turn signal, right turn signal, brake lights, and 4 ways that I have down here. Okay. Also, I've got my mud flap here, also known as splash guard. I want to make sure that it's not touching the tire, also not touching the floor. Properly mounted, tight and secure. Also fastened to the frame of the truck, not welded. That is a heat-treated frame, so it should not have any illegal welds on it. Should not be welded. Okay, so now that I'm out here, I'd like to talk to you a little bit more about these wheels. These wheels here, they can be recapped. I will talk to you about my inflation, condition, and depth. ICD on these tires. Want to make sure that I check sidewall, 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 sidewall. Make sure there's no chunks, no tears, no holes on each sidewall. As I check the top of the tire, I'll make sure that there's no holes, no chunks missing, no screws, no bolts, no foreign matter in the tread. Speaking about tread, these could be recapped, they could be regrooved. These tires up here can get no less than 2 30-seconds. Okay, I want to make sure that they also match in style and size, like I said earlier, between radial and bias, from this tire to this tire, and these tires to the other set of tires on the other side of this axle. Okay, I want to make sure that I understand it. I need to have proper inflation on these tires. I want to make sure it needs to be anywhere from 100 to 110 or according to manufacturer recommendation. I want to make sure that I check the stem. Seems to be properly mounted, tight and secure, no audible sounds of leak, and I can get to my other one through there. Seems to be in good condition, not broken, doesn't look like it's going to get binded up with anything in there, so everything seems to be in good condition. As I check the rim Like I said, I will check it from the inside just as I did the outside. No cracks, no illegal welds, proper amount of hardware, tight and secure, no signs of looseness, which would be shiny silverness, any water runoff. I also want to make sure I check my axle seal. This is my axle seal. My axle seal must not be missing any hardware. It needs to be tight and secure, and no signs of looseness, which again would be silver or water runoff. Okay, excuse me while I take a quick second, just make sure I didn't miss anything. And I would also like to mention that I have no gap between the trailer and the fifth wheel. There's no sunlight coming through. So that's my fifth wheel, no gap. My apron. Okay, I want to make sure that I mentioned that I understand I got to check for that. Here's my landing gear. My landing gear must be in good condition. My shoes must be up off the ground, properly tight and secure in the up position. I've got to make sure that I have a high and low speed. I also want to make sure that the arm itself, it helps raise them up and drop them. I want to make sure it is properly secured out of the way. Okay, tight and secure. So everything seems to be in good condition. Okay, this is a new axle, so I will explain this axle just as good as I did the other ones. Would you like to hear a little bit more detail, or would you just like to know the differences? You'd like to know the whole deal? Great, not a problem, of course. So come on in. Okay, this axle set down here is a little different. I've got my air tank back here. It supplies air to these tires back here. So I'll make sure I check the air tank. It's got to be in good condition, not cracked, not dented, no audible sounds of leak. Okay, I check all my air lines, one of my brake chambers. I want to make sure I perform an ABC, abrasions, bubbles, or cuts, also not leaking. I've got my brake chamber there, another brake chamber here. I want to make sure it's not cracked, not dented, no audible sounds of leaks. Also want to make sure that I got a C-clamp. These are my C-clamps. I want to make sure that I got proper fastened hardware, keeping it nice, tight, and secure. Okay. I've got my leaf springs mounts here and back there. I want to make sure it's not cracked, not dented. Proper amount of hardware. Nothing missing. Okay, I only got 3 leaf springs, so I cannot have any damage on this truck, on this axle. They all seem to be present, not cracked, not broken. I've got my U-bolts holding them in place. The hardware seems to be on the bottom, tight and secure, holding it in place. Everything seems to be good with that. This is torque suspension back here. This one's standard. This one's adjustable. This adjustable one kind of helps align my trailer if it was pulling to one side or another on the freeway. As I work my way out, I want to mention before I work my way out, I've got my push rod slack adjuster back here. Okay, right now my brakes are on, so I've got a nice 90. Okay, there's my slack adjuster. My slack adjuster is the one on top to the left. My push rod's this longer one coming that goes in and out. Okay, I want to make sure that I check that the pins and cotter pins are present. I want to make sure that I have no more than 2 inches of free play back here when the brakes are chalked, and no more than 2 inches of free play back here. Okay, as I get back into the brake drums, the brake drums must be in good condition. That is them. The brake drums themselves got to be nice and round. Should not be cracked, not dented, no bluing, which would indicate overheating. These are my brake liners. Should not be excessively low. I should have no less than about a 1/4 inch of consumable material on them. Okay, I want to make sure there's no grease, no oil between my drum and my brake liner. Okay, my brake liner must have proper rivets on top. Should not be missing any rivets up on top. So it seems to be in good condition. As I work my way out, I'm going to check this rim and that rim. Make sure it's not cracked, not dented. Seems to be in good condition. No illegal welds. I want to make sure that I check in between both tires. Make sure that I understand that they're not using spacers It is rim to rim, no rocks, no foreign matter in between the two tires. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and jump out and talk to you a little bit about my ICD on these tires. My ICD on these tires, I would make sure that I would perform just as I did on those tires. I would perform an inflation condition depth check. I would make sure I check sidewall, 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 sidewall. No chunks, no gouges, no tears. I want to make sure the top condition of the tire is in good condition, not rounded. If it was rounded, it would indicate a suspension problem. So I want to make sure that there's no nails, no foreign matter on the top of the tread. I want to make sure that I understand these can be recapped or retreaded. I also want to make sure that I understand that this side must match this side and these tires must match the other side, okay? As far as size and radial and bias style, okay? I want to make sure that I've got a nice beat between this rim and this tire on both sides, and this rim and this tire on this side also, okay? I want to make sure I check the rim. Rim is nice and round, good condition, no cracks, no illegal welds, not broken. I'll make sure I check my lug nuts. My lug nuts are all present, tight and secure, no signs of leaks like shiny silver or on the thread, and also no water runoff. Got my hub oil seal window right here. My hub oil seal window is properly fastened with all its hardware, keeping it tight and secure. I also want to make sure that I check my window. I want to make sure that I would add oil through that hole if it was low, and also want to make sure it's not leaking. Like I said, I've got my reflector, my marker here, red in color on the side of the vehicle. It's in good condition, properly mounted. I got my mud flap here, not touching the tire, not touching the floor, proper amount of hardware, good condition. Okay. I'd like to start from the top to the bottom, like I said, every single time to make sure I don't forget anything. I've got the frame, seems to be in good condition. It's not leaning, not broken. The frame doors, the frame itself is in good condition. The clearance lights seem to be in good condition, properly mounted, red in color, 3 of them, properly mounted, they're in good condition. As I check my door, all my panels are present, tight and secure, not missing any hardware, not missing any rivets. Okay, on this particular truck, I have my cables seem to be present, good condition, not broken, not frayed. I've got a pin and a cotter pin down here at the bottom. Okay, I've got a latch. This is a trainer truck, so it's bolted right now, but I want to make sure it's in the locked position while I'm on the road. Okay, I want to make sure I check my reflectors, not broken, not cracked, in good working order. Okay, I check. I know they work, but I still want to make sure that they are clean, not cracked, not falling off the truck, properly fastened. That's my left turn signal, right turn signal, brake light, so they've got to be in good condition. Okay, I've got my plate down here, properly fastened. I've got a light keeping it lit at night, tight and secure. I've got my bumper, my DOT approved bumper. Seems to be in good working order, not cracked, not painted. Now, I will check this side, just as I did the other side, with a little exception. As I walk along, I will check this side of the truck just as I did the other. I do have a much better view of my exhaust system, so I want to make sure my exhaust system is tight and secure. I want to make sure that I will check it at any joints, make sure there's no leaks. I also want to make sure there's no holes, no black soot coming out of the holes. So I want to make sure it's nice, tight, and secure. I've got another fuel tank on this side. Just like I checked it on the other side, I want to make sure it's not cracked, not dented, no leaks, properly capped. I've got my steps, no grease, no oil, and the steps actually have a rubber seal gasket holding it in place. It is in good condition. That does conclude my pre-trip inspection. Like I said, I would check this side just as I did the other side. That does conclude my pre-trip inspection.